Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Lace up those boots and sling on the pack for a romp through trails, short and long. With your host and Renaissance man, Doc. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail, dirtbags and hiker trash. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Let's start off with a reminder. If you are enjoying the podcast, take just a minute to help us out. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're not enjoying the pod, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. All right, let's get to this week's guest. We are reaching out across the pond and teaming up today with a new friend from Croatia, the race director for Adventure Race Croatia, Igor Dorotic. Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod, Igor. How's it going?
Thanks. Doing fine. It's getting a bit colder here in Croatia. It was perfect weather until a couple of days ago. It's usually not that warm in this time of the year. So we had our race. We are organizing a race, a trail race, 2-day trail race last weekend, and the weather was perfect, almost too hot. And we're almost getting used to the hot weather here. But now in the last couple of days, it's got pretty colder. So I'm acclimatizing to that. So, but I'm still in my shorts. I'm still in my flip-flops, and I mostly do it all the winter. So I'm usually the weird guy walking on the streets in the middle of winter in flip-flops and in my shorts.
Well, you're going to fit right in on this podcast because those are the people we look for. The weird people, the people who are walking around in shorts and flip-flops in the dead of winter. Yeah. Awesome.
That's me for sure.
Perfect. Now, as I look at where you are right now, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm trying to decipher where you might be. Are you in some kind of like a recreational vehicle? Is it like a motorhome or a?
No, I actually in my private jet. No, I'm kidding. I'm in my RV. So I bought a camper van like 5 years ago, basically to live in it. I rented out my house, and for the last couple of years, well, the last 4 or 5 years, me and a partner will be living in the camper van on and off, sometimes for a couple of months in a row, and it helps us a lot with our lifestyle because we are organizing races, and almost all our activities are outdoor related. So having a camper van is a really good way of getting to the places we want to go, and they're staying there for an extended period of time.
You're taking it on the road. Nice. Mobile.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How big is the camper van?
Oh, it's like 7 meters, but it can fit 4 people, but it's only 2 of us, so it's pretty comfortable for us. We have all the things we need. We have a shower, kitchen, garage for our bikes, solar panels. So it's basically like a small apartment, only on 4 wheels.
Okay. Now, Igor, I have to tell you that you're not the first Croatian to appear on the John Freakin' Muir Pod.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're actually the second Croatian. First Croatian was, excuse me, the first Croatian was actually Nikola Horvat.
Yeah, I guess he could be the one. Yeah.
Yes.
He's the guy who hiked across the Pacific Trail.
That's correct. Yeah. He was he told me anyway that he was the first Croatian to do the PCT.
Yeah. I don't know him personally, but I know of him. So.
Okay. Yeah, I felt kind of weird putting this in my notes for this episode because it's like asking somebody from California, "Hey, I know this other guy in California. Do you know this guy?" And the states, I imagine Croatia is so huge, lots of people, but I put it in there just on the chance that you may have known him.
No, Croatia is not that huge. It's like 4.5 million, and outdoor scene is not that big. So you basically know everybody, not personally perhaps, but you know of them. And you know of all the races and all the interesting outdoor stuff that's happening in Croatia, and Croats doing it somewhere else. So basically, it's hard to miss something like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nikola, he came back from the PCT and said, "Why don't we have something like this in our country?" And he actually is the creator of the Croatian Long Trail.
Yeah.
And I asked him if I could come out there and do it. And he said, yeah, you can, I'll meet you at the airport and we'll put you up and we'll hike on the trail with you. So I've got that standing invitation to go to Croatia once I have some free time.
Yeah, Croatia is a beautiful country and definitely is something that has to be on your bucket list. It's pretty diverse, and I think if you just go to one area of Croatia, you're missing out on other parts because you just get to know one part, and some of the parts are totally different and totally unique. So you definitely have to spend more time in Croatia, and this is the perfect way to experience Croatia. Also, adventure racing is a perfect way because you get to know places that people usually don't go, and some hidden gems, and you do it in a compact time, like 3, 4, 5 days, and you get a perfect holiday, and you get to visit a lot of cool places.
Okay, now you and I became acquainted through a mutual friend, and that is Brett Gravelin. One of our favorite adventure racers. We talked to him. He was an excellent guest on the podcast. He told us about his experiences in adventure racing and how his group was featured on the World's Toughest Race on Amazon, which was quite a story. How did you get to know Brett Gravelin?
Well, he was racing at my race, Adventure Race Croatia. And we talked about it, and he really liked the race. And I talked to him about the Relive Project that I hope we will talk about later. Mm-hmm. And he really liked the idea, and he told me that he can help me promote it. And he'll try to get me to talk to some people and see if we can make this thing get off. So.
Yeah. He said, Doc, you got to talk to Igor. He is a funny guy. He's got a really dry sense of humor. He'd be a perfect guest on the podcast. So that's some high expectations.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. No, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Now, Igor, on the American long trails, on the thru hikes, there's this tradition of assigning trail names to folks. So they don't go by their given name. They go by names like Ballsack or Cheese or Doc. And is there a similar tradition with adventure racing? Have you picked up a nickname out there, or do you just go by Igor?
Well, unfortunately, I did pick up a nickname that I really don't like, but it's stuck. I was a climber. Well, avid climber, like maybe 15, 20 years ago. And I had a group of friends that I was climbing with. And one of them, read in the newspapers that the way you can recognize a werewolf is they usually have unibrow. And he just looked at me and he said, "You might be a werewolf." And it was like a group of 5 people that were calling me werewolf. And then in the next couple of years, I got into trail running and adventure racing. And the guy who introduced me to that sport was also a climber with me, and he introduced me to everybody as a werewolf. So I was introduced as a werewolf to hundreds of people, and I couldn't get away from it anymore. So usually people know me as werewolf, but only the Croatian version of the word werewolf. So it's a Vukodlak, and that's my nickname that I really don't like, but I accepted it because I never introduced myself as a Vukodlak. But sometimes it happens when I call people on the phone and I say, "Hi, it's Igor." Igor who? Igor Dorotic. Who? Vukodlak. Ah, it's you. So sometimes I have to use it. So, but it's not my favorite nickname for sure.
Okay. Usually on the podcast here, we go by trail names, but if you don't like your trail name, I'm not gonna.
No, it's like 20 years ago, and I got used to it. So it sounds more interesting. So it makes me more interesting than I am. So I accept it. So.
Nice. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll go back and forth between Igor and Werewolf or Vukodlak.
Vukodlak. Vukodlak, yeah.
Or Werewolf. Okay.
Werewolf, it's easier for you for sure. Yeah.
All right. Hey, Igor, have you had a chance to listen to the podcast before?
No, actually, I didn't. I listened to a lot of podcasts, but I didn't get a chance to do it. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just asking to make sure that you know that we have a segment towards the end of our episode called the Pro Tip Insight of the Week. And that's where I will turn to you and ask you to share some wisdom with our listeners that's going to make their next outdoor experience even better. So
that's going to be interesting.
Don't be surprised when we get there. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you come up with. All right.
The Must Bring Gear Review.
Hey, Igor, another feature we've been doing this season is the Must Bring Gear Review, sponsored by the ultralight backpacking gear company 6 Moon Designs. And here's how it works. If you were to let a stranger pack your bag or pack your equipment with pretty much generic gear for a multi-day adventure race, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? And if you've got a particular brand for that specific piece of gear, even better. So, Werewolf, what is your must-bring piece of gear?
I would say, top of my head, headlamp. Headlamp is something that could really be useful, because, if I pick something else, it could be useful, for some type of situation, but headlamp is definitely something you can use the whole night. And depending on the time of the year, if it's in the winter, the nighttime is like, 14, 15 hours. So it's definitely something that I think, to feel more secure, to not get hurt, to help you get around. I think that's on top of my head something that I really would not want to be stuck without on a trip.
Okay. So am I to assume then that adventure racing doesn't just take place during the daylight hours?
Oh yeah. So adventure racing is a sport. It can last for a couple of hours, but the adventure races that I do, it's around 4 to 5 days. So when you start, you don't stop. So it's the clock never stops. You can sleep wherever you want, but basically people are on the course for 4 or 5 days, and they choose when to stop and where to sleep. So typically the winning team on our races does it in about 75 hours, and they usually sleep for 2 to 4 hours during that 75 hours. So that means that they usually go the whole night. Maybe on the second night sleep for 2 hours, on the third night for 2 hours, and that's about it. So having a good lamp with all the batteries, it's essential, definitely.
Don't forget to pack the headlamp. Excellent. Okay.
Oh no.
It's the hiking pole.
All right, Igor. Our next segment here is the hiking poll. This is a 7-question survey. So it's not poll like the poll you have in your hands. It's not POLE. Okay. It's POLL, like a survey. And these 7 questions are going to help me give you a score on the sanity scale from 1 to 100. Where 1, if you get a 1, you're completely insane. If you get 100, you're completely sane. So where do you think your friends and family would put you on that scale?
About 3.
All right. Now, I have a couple of sets of questions here that I could ask. One is kind of like hiking and camping related. Do you have a lot of hiking and camping experience?
Yeah, actually I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go with those questions. All right. First question. Trekking poles or no trekking poles out there?
Depending on the course, but usually trekking poles. Yeah. It definitely helps for the longer hikes, and it helps you going up or going down. So definitely, if there is not a lot of map orienteering with maps involved, so where you have to use your hands and a compass, and your hands need to be free, I definitely choose hiking poles. Yep.
Okay. Question number 2. What's on your feet, boots or trail runners, or nothing at all? Are you a barefoot hiker?
No, I'm not a barefoot runner. You can sometimes see me on the trails in my flip-flops. That's for sure. I never wear boots. So it's always running shoes. Not the trail shoes, but running shoes. Yeah. Trail running shoes. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And on those off moments where you do actually sleep on the trail, you're not just racing 24 hours a day. What kind of shelter do you prefer? Are you a tent guy, tarp, hammock, bivvy, or do you cowboy camp?
Depends. Depends. I'm used to it, to all of it. I'm not really a fan of hammocks. They're pretty great because they're light and for spend a couple of hours, but sleeping in them to hold the night, I have problems with my back after that, so I don't choose that option. But I can sleep anywhere basically, as long as it doesn't have to even be no, basically I can sleep anywhere. I don't have problems sleeping. Yeah, that's for sure.
No, I don't. I agree with you on the hammocks. I don't know what it is. I can take the best half-hour nap in a hammock, but there's no way I could spend the night in a hammock.
Yeah. It would be perfect if it would be good for me because it's small, it's compact, it's easy to set up, but I just cannot do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question number 4: sleeping bag or quilt?
Sleeping bag for sure. Yeah. I wanna get rested. That's for sure. And if I want to sleep, I want to sleep as comfortable as I can. So if I'm really, desperate, I can sleep without it. But definitely, if I want to use a couple of hours to stop and not race or lose time sleeping, I want to do it as comfortably as possible so it could benefit me the best.
Okay. Now, when it comes to food out there, are you a stove guy, cold soak, or stoveless?
That's a bit of a problem for me. I'm a long time vegan, so the food is always a problem. When you want to prepare for something and take the food because there are not a lot of options. It's getting better, so I usually just try to come up with something that it's nutritional and it's vegan. So definitely, I'm not picky. I just want to fill my belly, and that's it.
Okay, and this brings me to a side question. This doesn't count in the hiking poll, but if you are racing 20 to 22 hours a day in an adventure race, I imagine there has to be some kind of huge caloric intake. You got to do you have to fuel up during the race. How does that work for a vegan out there?
It works. Sometimes somehow it works. You learn with the years, and you know what suits you and what you need. So it was never an issue for me. I didn't have any problems. This is the stuff I don't eat. This is the stuff I do eat. This is good for me to take on the trail. So it works. It's not a problem for me at all, and I don't worry about it, and I don't make a big fuss about it.
Okay, what's your go-to meal out there?
I like usually it's oats. I like to take oats. It's peanuts and walnuts, stuff like that. So that's good for me. It's caloric and I like it. So it's something that I go to. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Back to the hiking poll. Question number 6: is life better above or below the tree line?
Below for me. I'm more of a forest and woods guy than a bare mountain without any woods. So I like the views, but I'm more kind of being into the forest and in the trees, and that's something that I really like. I also like the above the tree line, but definitely my favorite place is to be in the forests, rivers. That's for me. Yeah.
Got it. All right. And our final question, not sure if this applies to adventure racing or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's more important, pack weight or luxury items?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. You have to be definitely lightweight, but sometimes you don't have to watch the weight of some stuff. You have to bring it. So there's a famous saying in adventure racing community, pack light, freeze at night. But that's something I don't want to do because I need some of the stuff to get through a couple of days. So you always have to be wary of the weight, but sometimes if I'm choosing not to bring a sleeping bag or bring a sleeping bag, I usually choose a sleeping bag because it will benefit me in the long run.
Okay. Fair points. You made a lot of sense there. I'm not sure why your friends would give you a 3, but let me put your answers through the algorithm here. We'll see if we can come up with a score for you. So I got to carry the 3. We're going to divide by √2, multiply by pi, and we're going to adjust for the temperature at the top of Mount Troglav at the summer solstice. Mount Troglav, as we know, is the highest point in Croatia. And I come up with a score of 47. 47, that's pretty reasonable.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, just south of the midpoint. You're a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Well, maybe in this situation, I make some sense because I do have some experience. But overall, the way I live my life, that's the criteria that I think some people will see me a bit crazy. But in this type of situation, I do make some sense because I do have some experience. I'm not a crazy guy going, barefoot on top of the mountain, shirtless. I do definitely think about what I'm going to do and consider the consequences, especially if I'm going hiking with somebody that is weaker than me. So I have to be a support for that person. So I do need to be at my best. So I just don't go, through all the walls, and I don't care what happens. I have to think about it and prepare. So it makes sense.
Right. Not shirtless and barefoot on top of a mountain, just flip-flops and shorts in the dead of winter.
Yeah. That's it.
Got it. All right. You know what? Before we get too far down the trail, let's back up a little bit because I want to find out how you got to be where you are right now. Let's talk about your background, where you grew up, and how you got involved with the outdoor adventure cult.
I grew up in Zagreb, the capital of Croatia. Have a normal childhood, and I was lucky enough that when I started my elementary school when I was 7, our teacher was the main Boy Scout leader in the area, and so she took my whole class and enrolled us in Boy Scouts, and I was there for next 8 years, and I was religiously going to all the events. So all the summer camps, winter camps, every weekend I was there. It was like a small military to me. So I really liked that concept, and I was in love with Boy Scouts, and I was in love with outdoors. So my family is not really, when I was a kid, they were not really outdoorsy, so we didn't go on hikes or stuff like that. So it is something that stuck with me for my whole life, and that's definitely something that created the beast that I am.
Now, Werewolf, what is the most important lesson you learned from your experience in the Boy Scouts?
I couldn't say that I learned anything specific. It's just the way that you live your life. It's staying outdoors, making shelter, getting to know the surroundings around you, knowing the maps. So it's definitely the whole life experience. It's different because when your whole life is revolving around outdoors, it's totally different that people are used to. They live in towns, they live in cities, they don't go out. So it's just something wild they do occasionally at best. Right. But if your whole life is oriented around outdoors, it's a totally different experience, and you experience the life totally different than most of the people. And that's my experience that I have since I was a kid.
Now, you said you did this for 8 years with the Boy Scouts?
Yeah, and the only reason why I stopped is actually when I was going from elementary school to my high school. The war started in Croatia, so the war was there for 5 years, and so everything stopped basically. There was no Boy Scouts and stuff like that. And then when it all got settled, I was already like 20, and I was in a different mindset. So right. It didn't make sense to get back to the Boy Scouts. So, but I definitely something that put the roots in my personality, and something that I kept doing myself and with my friends for the next 25 years.
Right. Laid a great foundation for you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Now, do you have any siblings, brothers or sisters?
I have a sister, older sister, and she was definitely not outdoorsy as I am. But now in her late 40s, she's getting there, and she's actually been running on my races for the last 3 or 4 years. So I'm proud of her, and I think that's something that it took a long time for her to start, but I think she's getting better, and I support her definitely. She was running last weekend on the race we do on the 2 islands. So it's a trail running event on 2 islands. One day is on one island, and next day it's on the second island, and we got a winner that has a best combined times for the both islands.
Wow, that sounds very cool. Now, how long is that race? How many miles?
It's a smaller race, so there are three courses. So the longest one is 23 kilometers one day, and 23 the second day. So the winner does it at like maybe 2 hours. So it's not a really long race, but it's really fun. Great courses, and we get a really good attendance. So it's usually about 600 people running this event.
Mm-hmm. Now, forgive me in my geographic ignorance. I thought Croatia was landlocked. Does it have a coast?
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. My mistake.
Croatia has I would say that one of the most diverse and beautiful coastlines in the world. So we have almost 1,000 islands, small islands and bigger islands. I would say that maybe 40 or 50 are inhabited, and the other ones are small ones. And so it's a really beautiful coastline, really beautiful crystal clear sea, and that's the main attraction for the tourists to come to Croatia. So definitely seaside is our main touristic attraction. So learn your geographics.
Yes, I need to get back to my geography book. Obviously. All right. Did your sister did she do well in comparison to her previous races? Did she enjoy it?
Yes, she did well.
And if you want to know why I'm laughing, you'll have to tune into the YouTube version of this episode. So that's fantastic. All right. Now, Igor, what do you do to pay the bills? Is your full-time job being the race director for Adventure Race Croatia and other types of trail running events?
I quit my normal job like 5 years ago and started to be more involved in organizing races on the more professional level, I would say. So I've been organizing events for the last 15 years, smaller events, and doing it like I wouldn't say even like a side job, but something that I do for fun, and I never made any money out of it. And then in the last 5 years, I decided I want to quit my job and I want to try to do it more seriously. And that's when Adventure Race in Croatia happened, and it was pretty successful. So when you're starting to organizing adventure races, it takes a couple of years to get all the gear and all the stuff you need for adventure racing. So the initial costs are bigger, but after a couple of years, you realize you can actually live out of it. It's not a luxurious life. It's not something that you can, get rich of. But if you do a couple of races a year and you do it smartly and you live a frugal life like I do, I can definitely get by. And it's something now. It's organizing races, helping other people organize races, and outdoor related jobs. Like sometimes I do like outdoor guide stuff and stuff like that. So it helps me pay the bills and it's fun. So all the things I do, it's definitely outdoor related. So it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I want to do in the future. But I'm getting older, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it for the next 50 years, but for the next 15, 20, I hope I can do it. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Werewolf about, what is adventure racing? What are the different types of activities involved in that? And also more about Adventure Race Croatia. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. Thank you to our sponsors for those great advertisements there. Let's get back to Werewolf here. And, we've had Brett Gravelin on. We've had Hunter Leininger on the podcast. So if our listeners are a regular customer of the podcast, they're familiar with adventure racing. But for those people maybe who are just tuning in, who have stumbled across the podcast, can you help me define what is adventure racing?
Adventure racing is a multisport that usually consists of the three basic disciplines. I would say four. So it's usually running or hiking, cycling, rowing, paddling, kayaking, whatever, and orienteering. So the course is not marked. You have to use the map. You have CPs all around the specific area, and you have to cover that area and collect all or most of the CPs in order, and using the disciplines, so kayaking or hiking or biking, in order that organizers set up. So for the first 20 checkpoints you can do on a bike, and then you transition to hiking. For the next checkpoints, 10 checkpoints, you do it on foot, and then you transition to kayak. And it can have a couple of legs, so 3-4 legs, or it can be like 15 legs, so you can have kayak 5-6 times, or so it depends. Usually more transitions and more legs means more complicated logistics, so adventure races usually try to keep it as simple as possible. Only the weird guy from Adventure Race Croatia does it differently, and we have a lot of transition, a lot of legs, so it makes it more difficult and more complicated for us. But I think it's much better experience for the racers because the legs are shorter. It's more interesting. You don't have like monster legs like 100 kilometers of hiking or 100 kilometers of kayaking. It's divided. It's in smaller portions. So for our races, the longest hiking sections are between 30 and 40 kilometers. Bikes are usually maximum 100 kilometers, and kayaking stages are between 20 and 30 kilometers. So it's basically, when you have a race that's 500 kilometers long, having such a big amount of legs makes it easier for your body and for the whole team. So I think it's a better way to do it, but it's not always easy to do it depending on the country, on the area where you're setting your race up, because you have to. Logistics is always hard, but we tend to definitely try our best to have as much as legs as possible to make it fun for the racers.
Yeah, I think probably most of our American audience is familiar with the concept of triathlons. This sounds like a much more complicated, much more challenging and logistical task than and I say just a triathlon. And this sounds like a triathlon on steroids.
Yeah. That's usually people, when I talk about this sport, they usually talk about triathlon on Ironman, and Ironman usually lasts, for the slower people, like 15-16 hours. And this race for the slower teams, it's like, it could be 120, 150 hours for some races. So it's definitely a similar sport, but totally different, because in Ironman, the course is set. It's in a city environment. You're on pavement. You are surrounded by people. You don't have to orient yourself. You're well fed. You have feed zones. So it's definitely, it has similarities, but it's totally different. This is more of a experience, and you can do it really fast if you're a top team. But you can do it as a slower team. You can do it as a life experience or as a really tough holiday, compacted in a couple of days. So it has similarities, but it's basically different. Different because people usually say that Ironman is like one of the toughest sports, but when you compare Ironman with this, this is much harder to do. Yeah. Because you have blisters, you're hungry, you're tired, you're cold, you have sleep monsters. It's all of that combined, and you're also with a team, and the team dynamics is important because you can be grumpy, you can be angry, you can be angry at your teammates because they made a orienteering mistake or they are slow. There could be injuries, so a lot of stuff is involved in having a really good race.
That's right. That's another main difference is Ironman, you're basically by yourself. It's an individual sport, but adventure racing, how big is the team?
Usually it's 4 people, and the important thing is that one person has to be of opposite sex. So it's usually it's 3 guys and 1 girl. But it's not rare. It's not uncommon to see 2 girls, 2 guys, or even 3 girls with 1 guy. But it's mostly 3 guys and 1 girl because that's usually means that it's the strongest team. But now the girls are getting stronger, and it's definitely not unusual to see more girls in the team.
Now I know when I talked to Brett about his experience with the Eco Challenge. In Fiji, right? Eco Challenge,
yep.
Fiji. Yep. That before they could enter the race, they had to obtain certain certifications in different types of adventure disciplines to show that they were prepared for the race. Is that similar with Adventure Race Croatia?
No, we don't ask anybody to have any certificates. The main reason because it could be faked. So you have people coming from other countries, and I don't know what I'm looking at. I can see a paper saying that somebody can swim or do like a level 3 rapids or 4. Doesn't mean anything to me because anybody could have written that. You can Photoshop it. So it's definitely I tell people use your common sense. It's something that your life depends on, and you have to be comfortable with going into adventure racing and knowing that you can face all the challenges that you're going to face. And I just trust in people, and I hope that they take it seriously. When I tell them, there are going to be some demanding rivers on this course, being your best game, go and try and battle the more difficult rivers that you're used to. So it's not the same paddling on a lake and paddling on rivers class 3 or class 4. So definitely something that you should be. It should be normal for people to realize that they have to be ready for this type of activities.
Yes. So
I had experienced people coming to our race and doing the rope activities like descending, and I can see that they done it once. Somebody showed them how to do it, but I'm not there to teach them how to do it. They knew that they were going to have to do it, and it's in your best interest to be as prepared as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about something that is a lot more difficult than a triathlon, and so if you're planning on doing this, do your research, do your homework, and make sure that you're prepared and ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Igor, how did you get involved in adventure racing? How did you pick up the sport? I assume that you were a participant first before you became a race director.
Mm-hmm. I was the first race I did was I think it's 2006. So in the beginning of 2000s, there was a really a cool race in Croatia. It was international, and it was like 3 or 4 days, and it's gotten pretty big. So I used to watch it, from the distance, and I thought that's definitely not something I could do, because in that time I was a rock climber, but I was always riding my bike, and I was always doing adventure stuff. But I was definitely looking at that as something that's beyond my capabilities. And I didn't know anybody who was into that sport, so I couldn't actually get a team even if I wanted to. And then it sort of died off in the middle of 2000s. And then in the 2006, I accidentally got into it because I knew 2 friends that were doing it. So I said, okay, I might as well try it. And I tried it, and I was hooked. And 2 years later, I organized my first race in 2008. And since then, I organized at least one adventure race every year on a smaller scale for the teams of 2. It was usually just local teams and some teams from Slovenia. But in 2018, we organized Adventure Race Croatia, and it got really big. And now we are part of ARWS, and we are part of we're a qualifying race for the World Championship, and it's the real thing.
Yeah, ARWS being the Adventure Race World Series.
Yes.
Okay, and I was smiling there as you were talking, because I love the phrase that you accidentally got into adventure racing. That's like accidentally getting into a marathon. What have I gotten myself into? What's happening here? Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe the wrong choice of words, not accidentally, but I was looking at it for a couple of years, but it's not the same as now. You have the internet is really big. You look at the YouTube videos. You can see you can get to know adventure racing even before you start. But 15, 16 years ago, 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. You couldn't definitely get to know the sports before you actually tried it. So it's something that it looked good to me because it was like hiking. That's my thing. Biking. That's my thing. Kayaking. I love it. Orienteering. That's it. So I thought that's a perfect sport for me, but I don't know anybody who would join me in a team and want to, spend 2 or 3 nights without sleeping and getting cold. And so it was something that I was thinking about and dreaming about, but it's something so distant to me at the beginning. So when I accidentally knew the people that were doing it, I said, okay, I'm going to do it too. So I did it without any preparing or any training. Well, I was already, basically ready for it, but I didn't do any specific training for it, or I tried it and I don't know, I wasn't great at it, but I was good enough for it, because in all sports, what's the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, stuff like that. I'm pretty good in all sports. I'm not really perfect in any sport, but that's the way I like it. I don't want to concentrate on one sport and get it to perfection. I want to try everything. I want to run, I want to hike, I want to ride my bike, I want to kayak, I want to do orienteering. So I don't want to concentrate on one sport and make the best out of it. I want to be diverse and do all the stuff I like.
Right. Now, Werewolf, you bring up a very good point, and one that's been made on the podcast in the past, and that is, in today's age, if you want to learn about something, if you want to find out about something, if you want to prepare yourself, there are a ton of resources on the internet. I mean, you just Google it and get on there and take a deep dive, watch YouTube videos, all kinds of resources out there for you to learn about, long distance hiking or adventure racing or whatever it is you have an interest in. And so when you show up on race day, or you show up to the trailhead, you have a pretty good idea based on others' experiences and what they've told you about how this is going to go. I have a healthy dose of respect for those people that did the Pacific Crest Trail or adventure racing back in the early days of the internet, when there wasn't a lot of resources available online, and they just went into it not knowing everything and having to have that learning curve in the experience itself.
I agree.
All right. Hey, we mentioned it's a qualifier for the AR World Series. What is the AR World Series?
So, AR World Series is a series of, usually it's like 8 to 10 races a year all around the world, and the winner for each race gets a free spot for the World Championship. So you get 8 or 10 winners depending on the year. They get a free entry, and World Championship is usually somewhere in I would say September or October or November, so the end of the year. And you get between 50 and 100 teams from all around the world racing for the title of the RWC. So it's a really great organization that is getting bigger, and it's the more races are coming in every year. So in the last 2 years, they have like a European series, an American series, South American series, Australian Oceanic series, Asia series. So it's definitely getting more and more races. But the main races for the World Series, it's usually, I would say that it's around 15 races, but only 10 races a year. So some races are doing it every second year. So usually it's like 8 to 10 races a year.
Got it. And is the World Championship held typically in the same location every year? Is there a course, or they rotate that as well?
Yeah, it's rotation. So one of the races that it's usually in the circuit gets the chance to host the Adventure Racing World Championship. This year was in Paraguay, and the next year it's going to be in South Africa.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about ARC, Adventure Race Croatia. It is, I think you mentioned earlier, it's a 500-kilometer course.
But around that, yeah.
Around that.
Yeah.
And typically, is there a time limit on adventure racing? If you don't get to a checkpoint by a certain time frame, you're out of the race. Is that how it works?
No, we have short courses. So typically, if we have 40 teams, I would say that maybe 15 teams can do the whole course. Time limit is, for our race, it's 104 hours. So I would say that around 15 teams can do the whole course in that time. The winners usually do it in 75 hours. And the teams that are slower, we have time limits on some certain checkpoints. And if you don't reach it in time, we just, give you information on the short course, and you skip a couple of CPs, and then you're back in the game, but you're only on a short course. So you cannot win, but you can finish the race. You will skip some of the CPs and some of the parts. But I think that 104 hours is enough time for like a team that is in a decent shape. And that's enough time to finish the course on the short course. Yeah. Some of the races have a different approach, so they keep the race open for longer. So the winners do it in 3 days, and they keep the race open for 7 days. So mostly all the teams do it, but it's for me it's not a good concept, because the winning team then has to wait for 3 or 4 days for all the teams to come in the finish line, and then there's a ceremony and stuff like that. So in our race, the winners usually just have to wait for 1 day for all the teams to get in, and then there's a ceremony and prize giving. So I think that's the concept that suits our best.
Now, 104 hours for our mathematically challenged people out there. That's 4 days and 8 hours. And I like to think that you made it 4 days and 8 hours because you take that extra 8 hours and you divide it up by divide by 4. That's 2 hours of sleep for each day, right? 2 hours, 24 hours of racing, take 2 hours of sleep, and then go again.
No, it's not that complicated. The thing is, it's 104 hours because usually race starts at 8. And then, we give them like 96 hours. It's 4 days, and then 8 hours. So 8 plus 8 is 4 hours. So the race ends on a Friday at 4 o'clock, because it gives the teams who just barely make it. So they come like in 3:30. They have enough time to get washed and make it to the dinner and the prize giving ceremony. So that's 104 hours. That's why.
Got it. Now I did a little research. The disciplines of the Adventure Race Croatia. You've got mountain biking, paddling, running, roping, and navigation, right?
Mhm.
And you've got it broken up to like 15% of the race is kayaking, 25% is hiking, and 60% is biking. Is that accurate?
About something like that. Yeah, every year is different because every year the course is different. But usually it ends up as something like that.
Mhm.
There's definitely biking has the biggest kilometers, so it's about 65%, and then hiking, and I would say that kayaking is usually between 10 and 15% of the
Mhm.
course.
Now, in your experience in adventure racing, as an adventure racer, did you ever find yourself in a situation where, like, holy smokes, what's going on here? You were concerned for your safety, the safety of your team? Any type 2 fun out there?
I didn't have any safety issues, and I didn't have really any big injuries. On some smaller races, a couple of years ago, I was racing with my partner, and I in the first 5 minutes of the race, I twisted my ankle, and I thought, no, it's going to be okay. So the next discipline is mountain bike, so I can recover. But I didn't recover because I twisted my ankle, but stupidly I continued the race. It was like maybe 8 hours race, because year before we won the race in the mixed category, and we won a weekend getaway, and we gave it to my parents, and then I promised my partner's mother we're gonna win this year for her weekend. So I said I have to keep racing. In the end, we finished second with a twisted ankle, and that's something I would never do again. But I was much younger then. It was 2 years ago, so I'm much more experienced and much more wise now.
Yeah, that's before you had the tinge of gray in the beard, right?
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right. Hey, tell us a little bit about this this project that you've got going called the Relive Project.
Yeah. So Relive is something that I think it's really interesting, and something that could really be beneficial for the adventure racing and outdoor community. So when we plan our races, we usually spend 6 months or 8 months planning the course, and then you have the race, and you have like 40-60 teams doing the course, and that's it. That course will never run again. So it's all the 6 months or 8 months, it's you're never going to use it again. So my idea is to offer that same course to people who wanna try it out. So Relive is basically a custom-made multisport tour for adventure hungry and above the average fit people who like to experience the adventure racing on their own terms. So it's you can do it as a competitive team, and do it as a training, and try to beat the course, the race time, the course, the winner, the time of the winners. Or you can do it really easygoing, with your friends, and you can tell us, okay, we want to skip the really difficult parts. We want to do it in 7 days. We want to sleep in our tents. Can you bring us the tents somewhere? We want to sleep in hotels. So it's really customizable to your needs and your wishes. So it's so far we had 3 courses, so three editions. So you can choose. I want to do Adventure Race in Croatia 2018. It's about 300 kilometers. We have 5 days, but we don't like kayaking. Can you do it without kayaking? And we can organize everything for you, so you can do it. You'll have all the maps, all the transition areas. Everything will be the same as the race. So it's a really good concept for everybody who wants to try adventure racing, but is afraid to do it because they think they're not ready. But they can try it out with their friends or with their family, or they can do it racing style really seriously as a training. So it's the range of people who are able to do it. It's really wide. So it could be really serious or really active holiday.
What a concept! That is fantastic. Is this
Yeah,
in the conceptual stage, or is this actually in place right now?
Well, the first idea about it I had during the COVID, and I said, okay, that's something that I really think it would be really good for the community. And I did a web page then, and I didn't promote it at all. I just told it a couple of people, and everybody thought it was a great idea because nobody is offering that. The good thing is about us is that we don't have regular jobs, so we can do it, whenever. And we had a couple of groups doing it, but it didn't really take off yet. But I think in the next couple of years, we're definitely not looking at that as a business. Like having 3 to 5 groups a year, it's good enough for us. I think it's with all the races that we do and all the jobs that we do, I think it's more than enough for me to do. But I think it's a perfect way to get to know the adventure racing without any pressure from other teams, any pressure of time, any pressure of failing. The race can be the race. Can be adjustable. So you have one plan, and then you see we are moving too slow. We're gonna skip this part. Can you transfer us with the van to this part so we can skip this long hike? So it's totally customizable. We had a group from Finland this summer. It was one YouTuber who did a vlog about it. And they had one plan. They are young people, like 25, relatively fit, and I think they thought that they're going to crush the course, and I think that course crushed them. So after the first night of not sleeping, they said, "Okay, we're gonna adapt. We're gonna sleep every night for 6 hours, 10 hours, and then we're gonna start in the morning." I said, "Okay, we can adapt. We can do that. We'll bring all your camping gear to locations, and you can sleep there, and we can continue in the morning." And it worked great for them. They didn't do the whole course, but they did like 70% of the course. They did all the highlights, and in the end, it was for them it was adventure of lifetime. So it was perfect. So there is no failure in reliving arts. So you cannot fail. You can just do less than you were expected, but you will not notice the difference, and you're not going to miss any of the highlights. So it's definitely something that it's perfect for a wide range of people.
Yeah, I mean, top notch racers can then keep in shape and familiarize themselves with the course by doing this. But also, you have your lower level, maybe not your top adventurers, maybe someone who's just really interested in adventure racing and wants to see what it's all about. They have the ability now to try it out and see how it goes.
Yep. So you have you can have you and your 2 or 3 friends can come here, tell us, okay, we're going to spend 2 weeks in Croatia. 1 week we want to do something really adventurous, and for the next 7 days we're going to take it really easy, party and go to the coast and enjoy our holidays. But for the first 7 days, create a course that it's challenging for us, we are more like bikers. Can you do more like biking stages? Mm-hmm. So I can definitely adapt and skip some of the kayaking or hiking legs, or turn it into a more mountain bike orienteering course. But people can do original course or adapted course to their wishes.
Yeah, I'm going to put in my request later today to do the course. Can I include in my customization that me and my 3 friends can stay in your RV?
Yeah, sure. That's an option. Sure. Yeah, that's an option. Yeah, we are. So the accommodation can be, you can do it race style. Sleep on the go. Just lay down on the ground and sleep. Or you can tell us, have our tents on specific locations. Or you can take us to the hotel every night at 10 o'clock. We want to sleep in a really good hotel, and we continue in the morning. Or we can use a camper van, or we can use, apartments or some, houses for rent. So it's definitely customizable. Whatever, I think it's idea is so versatile in an outdoor way. So definitely, it's fitted for a lot of people. So from the beginners to really professional teams.
Okay, so if our listeners out there are intrigued by this idea, how do they book this this adventure? Where can they find more information?
So our company is called Remarkable Events. So our website is remarkable.events. And they can use the Google search and type Adventure Race Croatia and Relive Adventure Race Croatia. I think it's searchable in Google. So definitely there's a website for it with all the information. They can email us and ask all the information that they cannot find on the website.
Okay. Now, Werewolf, I think that you are perfectly positioned for another type of adventure. I'd like to make a suggestion to you. Have you heard about the Barkley Marathons?
Yeah, I did.
Any interest in being a participant in the Barkley?
Not really. I think it's a race you cannot win. The race always wins. So for the last couple of years, there was not a single person that finished the whole course, and they had a really good people and good racers try to do it. I'm definitely not in that shape, and I'm not in that running form, so I couldn't even fathom about finishing the course. And I think it's the course is too challenging, and for me it doesn't make sense. It's a good story and it's a good conversation topic, but you always want to create a course that somebody can finish. Well, for me, it's easy to create an adventure race that nobody will finish. It's really easy to do it, but it's hard to create a course that enough people can finish, and it's challenging for them. But it's not too easy. So I think for our race, if we have 40 teams, if we let everybody finish the race in 104 hours, then the winning team will do it in 40 hours. So it's definitely, so we want to keep the winners about 75 hours, and that's why all the teams cannot finish the whole course. But Barkley Marathon is definitely too hard. And I don't like the concept nobody finishing, because it's as I say, it's easy to do that. You just create a course that it's too hard, but it works for some people because people are coming back, and it's a challenge for people to do it. But if the toughest people cannot finish the four loop course, so there is no point of me even trying to go there, because I know I'm going to fail.
Yeah, it is a bonkers race for sure. I love your philosophy about you want people to finish, and you want people to your top racers to finish in a shorter time, and design the course that way. But
because I look at the racers on our races as our customers, and you always want your customers to be satisfied. So we want them to create a course that they could basically finish if they are ready to finish it. If they put the hours in, if they did the training for it. So that's our main goal, to have the course that it's challenging but also doable. But if you create a course that it's not doable even for the top racers, it doesn't make sense for me, because the Barkley Marathon, the idea is not, so it's not like a commercial race. They don't make any money out of it. It's basically almost free. But for me, I want to create a course that somebody can finish.
Right. To continue that analogy, you have good customer service in your races. At the Barkley, I was going to say there's poor customer service, but I really think there's no customer service at the Barkleys, because it's just they're left to fend on their own.
Yeah. But people love the cool story and the cool concept, and that's what attracts the people to that race. It's a bit of almost sadistic type of organizing the race. But I guess the people who do this kind of races are a bit of masochistic. So, having a sadistic organizer fits them well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of world-class athletes who have participated in the Barkleys and have just been absolutely just trounced by the course. They didn't come anywhere close. And I say to myself, if this is a world-class athlete that can't even make a dent in this course, I mean, what hope is there?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Werewolf, you know where we are?
I'm in my camper van. I don't know. You're in the mountains, I can see.
You are. Where we are in the episode is?
And?
Oh, the button's not working. What happened here? Well, I'll have to cut that in later. It is time for the pro tip insight of the week. This is where you get to share some trail wisdom with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience even better. What do you have for us?
What do people usually do in this segment? What do they usually?
There's been all kinds of things, like live in the moment. Don't look towards the finish and not really experience what's happening while it's happening. Pack light. Use different types of gear for different purposes. Some kind of insight into how to make the next hike or race more enjoyable or more successful. So
yeah, for if we're talking about adventure racing, I would definitely say so first, basically just go out there and try everything. Think about the challenges you're going to face in the race, and don't just think about them in your mind. Try them out. For our race specifically, transitions are usually not something that you train. So transition is a place when you transition from one discipline to another. So basically you're coming with your bike, you have to pack it in your bike box and continue, on foot. So that transition can take you 10 minutes or 2 hours. And if you have 15 legs in the race, you can spend a lot of time wasted in transition. So people usually don't train transitions and they are not organized. So I think in our race, transitions are definitely a separate discipline that has to be trained. You have to be organized. You have your gear boxes and your bike boxes. They have to be organized. You have to have a procedure what to do when you get to the transition area. So that is something that I always tell the racers in our race. Organize your transition setup and think about what you're going to do when you transition from the bike to the kayak, from kayak to hike, from hike to kayak. That's something that is really important and something that can save you a lot of time and a lot of problems because you can forget gear in your boxes. You can forget some mandatory gear or some luxury item that you really need for the next leg. That is something that's really important. And the second thing I want to mention is taking care of your feet. That is something that's really important, and people don't usually walk for 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers, or don't get their feet wet. Or so taking care of your feet is really important, because it can definitely be something that can ruin your race and ruin the race of your teammates. Because if you get injured, your team will slow down, and you can even retire because a teammate has couple of blisters and he cannot walk. So it's taking care of your feet is really important, even in adventure racing.
Transitions and taking care of your feet. We got 2 for the price of 1. Some great pro tips right there.
I can throw in one more.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Water. Definitely take water, because you never know when you're gonna get next water. So don't use the philosophy travel light. You have to have water, because without water you're gonna suffer. And again, your teammates are gonna suffer, and you're gonna make your team be slower or even retire, because you didn't want to take 3 or 4 liters extra on your 50 kilometers hike, and you were expected that it's going to be enough for you, and then it's hot and there is no places where you can refill your water. So definitely water is one of the important stuff too.
Okay. 3 for the price of 1. So there you have it. That's it. This episode is just about in the books. Hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Werewolf. I want to thank him for joining us this week. Igor, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures and races?
Well, they cannot. I'm not on social media.
No social media for Werewolf.
No, we have a social media for Adventure Race Croatia. Mm-hmm. And for our remarkable events, a company. But me personally, I don't have any. I've never had any social media, or so. I don't do it. I'm not into it. So
that might be a 4th pro tip right there. No social media.
No, I'm not against it, but it's not something that I enjoy or something that I'm excited about. So I don't have anything against it, but it's not something that I choose not to do. Right. It's just not something that I'm not interested in.
Okay, well, I'm almost embarrassed then to say to remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yikes, that's a lot of social media. And if you have comments or clips you want to share, you can send it to me at johnfreakinmuir@gmail.com.
The Adventure Media Recommendation.
All right, Werewolf, I'm also looking to you to share a recommendation for a book, a movie, documentary, something that's going to help our listeners stay connected to outdoor adventures. We call this our Adventure Media Recommendation. What do you have for us?
I'm not really I'm ashamed to say I'm not really a reader. I want to read more, but I don't have a lot of recommendations given to me. Mm-hmm. So if somebody can tell me, there's a really good book, you can read this, I would read it. But I'm not really into reading books.
Okay. If someone wanted to become familiar with adventure racing, is there a maybe a website or a YouTube video or a documentary on adventure racing you could point them to?
So the book that I read, the latest book, a couple of years ago, the book I read about adventure racing was autobiography by Nathan Fave. He's one of the most famous adventure racers from New Zealand. I read a couple of books on adventure racing. They are basically, I think that now with all the videos and YouTubes and podcasts, the books about adventure racing are becoming obsolete in a way, because you write a book and then in a couple of years everything slightly changes. The gear changes, the location changes. So, but Nathan's autobiography was pretty interesting, and definitely something that I want to recommend to everybody. Regarding the documentaries, you can always, look for videos from some races. Some races definitely put their time and money into doing a proper video about the race. So, for example, for our 2018 edition of Adventure Race Croatia, we did almost 1 hour movie following the whole race, and that was pretty successful. It was, I think, it was broadcasted in 120 countries around the world. So it was really a fun project for us. A bit expensive, but we had the support of a Croatian tourist board, so they funded the film. So it was pretty good, and something that helped us get to the level of recognizability where we are now. What else did you say? You said.
No, you don't have to give me one of each. I was just looking for one overall. So again, you're providing us with multiple. This is awesome. So
yeah. I'm just throwing freebies to you.
That's right, freebies.
What have we not asked you?
And before we wrap things up, we've got just one more segment for you called "What Have I Not Asked You That You're Dying to Tell Us About?" What did we miss in today's interview?
Well, as I told you, the most important thing I wanted to talk about was the Relive Project, because luckily our Adventure Race Croatia is every year we sell out all the spots. So we opened for the 2023 edition. We opened the registration maybe like 2 weeks ago, and all the spots were filled in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
So we're really proud of it, and it's not something that usually happens in the adventure racing community, and we are really proud of it. And we didn't actually promote the race in any special way. We just announced that we are opening entries on a specific date, specific time, and we were hoping that we can, close the registration in a couple of days. And we actually did it in less than 2 hours. So we're really proud of it. And I think it's a proof that we are doing a good job, and that people like our race, and that we are doing something right, because we don't spend any money on advertising or stuff like that. We're just, I think we are organizing a good race, and word of mouth is the strongest advertisement you can get.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. Can you tell me, is Brett Gravelin and his team, are they signed up for next year?
Yeah, they're coming back. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah. All right. Hey, that is a wrap from the John Freaking Muir studio. Any shout outs to friends and family, Werewolf?
No, definitely not. No. I just wanna thank all the teams that were a part of Adventure Race Croatia in the last 3 editions, and we also wanted to thank the teams that were, well, not teams, but the participants that were with us from the beginning. And we decided that for the 2024, so the 5th edition of our race, we're gonna give a free entry to everybody who has been on the last 4 editions. So it's something that we want to say thanks to all the people who were with us from the beginning.
Incredible. Very good. All right. Hey, thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you're in the middle of a 104-hour adventure race in Croatia. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.